Hi guys, and welcome back to Nothing But Real Life. We are going to go over a couple things today. First, we are going to show you what happens to a growing fetus and a developing fetus as you ingest alcohol into your body. We're going to use rubbing alcohol and then beer. We actually do not drink alcohol at our house, and so I had some that I got from a friend, and we're going to use that. The rubbing alcohol shows you what happens instantly. It doesn't take as long. The beer, when you use that, you have to let it sit for about an hour. So we're actually going to try both of them and see what happens. I also am going to show you what happens and why tantrums are so big and major and so common in kids that have FASD or in utero drug exposure. We're going to simulate what it's like for developing babies and alcohol. So this is going to be our fetus. We're going to try two. In one of them, I'm going to use rubbing alcohol because it actually reacts quicker than regular alcohol. Okay. So if you think about what happens if women are drinking alcohol before they know they're pregnant. So we have our two babies in the belly, bun in the oven. And we are going to show you what happens when you have a pregnant mom that ingests alcohol. It is absorbed into the umbilical cord to the baby, and there's not an exit place for it. So what happens is it goes through the baby's body and up to the brain, and it kind of cycles around in the brain for a while because it has no outlet. So we're going to show you what happens. We're going to put some alcohol and some rubbing alcohol, in this, and what it does is it actually starts to cook the egg. So we have our rubbing alcohol one, and we have our alcohol one. So we are going to put that in there. The alcohol one takes a little longer. You have to let it sit for about an hour. This one starts right away. You can see already it's getting kind of foggy in there. You can see already it has cooked the egg a little bit in there. You have the white that is happening where the rubbing alcohol has mixed in with the egg, and it is literally cooking the egg in there. This one, the one that has the cores in it, you can see it is starting to separate, but we're going to have to let this one sit for a while. It takes about an hour to get to the same process that this one does immediately. So we're going to let those sit. So I'm going to show you right now what happens in kids that have in utero drug exposure or FASD. So many times they have smaller brains. They don't have as many functioning parts of their brain, and this is a activity that shows you why those tantrums happen so often with these kids, why they're unable to calm themselves down quickly or easily, and why there are so many big tantrums with them. So we're going to pretend like these cups are our teenage kids. We have a typical kid that has not been exposed to drug or alcohol in utero, and then we're going to have a child, and these are their brains. They're so clear. Don't you wish all of our brains were this clear? We're going to show you what happens in their brain when you add stress to their life. Okay, so we have our two teenagers. The problem is you have kids that have in utero drug exposure or FASD, and they have smaller brains, they have less functioning parts, and that baseline, that foundation of brain development is a little bit different. Not all the pieces are there. So we are going to add this to represent the disability in our brain that has in utero drug exposure or FASD. So these right here represent the stresses that a teenager goes through. So maybe you have a teenager that is stressed out with school. They have tests coming up. Here's our stressors. They got in an argument with mom and dad. Stuff going on with friends. Things aren't always on the up and up. So you have all these stressors that happen. Maybe they have a test and they felt like they studied, but they still did not just get it all. And then you also have, let's say, a dance coming up and they haven't been asked yet and they're stressed about that. So this is a kid, they have major stressors in their brains. This is what it looks like when they're stressed. Maybe they are feeling some anxiety. Then we have a child that has been exposed to drugs or alcohol in utero. And so they have the disability. So our paper towel represents the disability. They have all the same things. They have stresses at school with, we'll try to shove it down as much as we can. Stresses at school. They have tests coming up. They are trying to study for that. It's not all clicking. Got in a fight with mom and dad. Issues with friends. You can see we're getting to the top and we're starting to overflow. This is a bubbling point with these kids where they are feeling so much stress, but their little brains cannot contain it all. And then you add a dance on top and they haven't been asked yet and they're wanting to go, and you have tantrums that start to happen. You can see the difference between these two. This is when their brains start to overload and it is too much for them, and you have tantrums. You have these kids that cannot calm down. They cannot control their emotions. You can see we have below the rim and above the rim, and that is when all starts to overflow and fall out and spill out. They cannot keep it together. This is my kids on a daily basis. Most days I think they hate me and each other, and our house is complete chaos. This is what I do when they get stressed out. See? Comfort food. Why is it that chocolate is totally a comfort food? Can you tell? I get stressed a lot. So what are some coping skills that you can use when your children are stressed and overflowing of that brain? Let me show you. These are also good for all sorts of other kids that don't have in utero drug exposure or FASD. We call this the balloon breathing. This is a way that you can make it into a game and have them do some really deep breathing, getting that oxygen to their brain so their thinking part of their brain can be engaged instead of their survival part. Try this with your kids. Comment down below if this is helpful for you. Another thing you can do as a coping skill with kids is bubbles. You can get bubbles cheap. Get them at the dollar store. Have them kind of located all around your house, and when you see that kids are starting to get over the top and they're going to throw into a tantrum, get some bubbles and have them see how slowly they can blow it to see how big of a bubble they can get. That will help with them being able to get some oxygen inside of their bodies and into their brain. This will help with them getting into the thinking part of their brain so you can reason with them a little bit. My kids, they love to sit down and fold their arms and fold their legs and go, See how long they can draw out that and then have them take a really big deep breath and do it again. They think it's fun, they think it's silly, and really what I'm getting them to do is calm down and take a minute where they can do some breathing. That breathing part is so critical when these kids are throwing fits. So try any one of these 3 activities, see what works for your kids, what helps in calming them down when they're about ready to tantrum, and hopefully this will get them more in their thinking part of their brain so they're less reactive. While they're using these breathing skills, I'm taking a moment for myself. Mama needs a timeout. And while we're on the subject of timeout, remember parents need timeouts just as much as kids do. Hey, if you need to take a timeout, go in the bathroom, lock the door. Your kids can be banging and screaming on the door. Put your earphones in, watch one of our vlogs, and maybe you'll feel better about your life. All right, we are gonna do our final look at our baby egg. This has been sitting here, it's been about 2 hours. Here is our rubbing alcohol, and you might wonder why I'm in a different outfit. It's because I had something this morning, I had to wear a dress, and now I changed. So that's why. I know, weird, right? I change my clothes like, I don't know how many times a day. Not really. That's crazy laundry. So here is our rubbing alcohol. You can see the rubbing alcohol has just kind of stayed on the top of the surface. So it's affected everywhere that the rubbing alcohol has been. It's cooked the entire outside of the egg. It's kind of hard to see. The entire outside of the egg, you can see how it's white, like it's been cooked on the stove also. So that is the effect of that. This is like a sped up version of what alcohol does. And this one doesn't sit on the surface, so it has literally cooked all the way around the egg. So it's sitting in like a cooked sack. So that is the effect of what alcohol does. And I literally use like 2 tablespoons of this. Think of if, you know, you drank 2 beers or, you know, a few glasses of wine or something, what the effect would have on these unborn fetuses. So that gives you an idea of what we're looking at. I kind of wanted you to understand the effect it has on it and what happens when this stuff goes into your body when you're pregnant. All right. Actually, I'm going to give you one last top view. You can see how it's cooked the whole outside. This one is the beer. And then what that has done. That's a sped up version of what alcohol does. And it has literally cooked like the whole top part where the rubbing alcohol has sat. Words are hard. Kids are hard. Family can be hard. But they're awesome. What? Sorry, I was having a coping moment.